Smith, good to see you. Thanks kindly for making some time for us today.
My pleasure, Michael. Nice to talk to you.
All right, well, let's start on the degree of concern being raised over wait times, healthcare resources, following the death of a 44-year-old man who was waiting to see a doctor in an Edmonton ER. Your government has had to respond. With all that in mind, what does this say to you as Premier about the state of Alberta's health system?
Well, let me deal with it in two parts. In the first part, what a terrible tragedy for Mr. Sri Kumar and his family. I can't imagine the devastation that they're having. And so it should tell you something when we've decided to call a fatality inquiry. We had two expert doctors take a look at the records, and something clearly went wrong there. So we want to get to the bottom of it so the family knows and the public knows. But more broadly, we were in the middle of a very terrible respiratory virus season with influenza, sadly taking a lot of lives, and there was a lot of pressure on the emergency system. That's now subsided. We had about 1,000 patients in hospital at the end of December. I think we're down to about 300 now, so that eases the pressure. But the main thing that we're focused on right now, and you'll hear more about this next week, is what they call alternative level of care patients. Those are patients who've been in the hospital for longer than 30 days, so they're well past the acute stage, and it's a matter of getting them the proper home care and the proper environment so that they can move out of those beds so that they can be used for others coming into emergency. We've been working very, very hard on that, and we'll have some updates on that next week.
You know, capacity has been a focal point in a lot of the discussions around this. Apart from plans for a standalone stollery, will there ever be another publicly funded hospital built in Alberta?
Certainly need to be. I mean, we're in the middle of Red Deer being upgraded. The stollery itself will free up somewhere in the order of about 236 acute care beds. We're adding 350 beds to the Grey Nuns, 350 beds to Misericordia, about the same amount to South Campus. And so we're trying to build on the sites where we already have the expertise and the personnel so that we can add more beds. We'll do the assessment. I mean, I think that there's probably some need for in North Edmonton and North Calgary. There is probably a need for a brand new hospital as well. But the main thing that we've also seen is that there's been underbuilding on continuing care units. That's why we announced that we are going to be building 1,500 continuing care units every year for the next 10 years, because those who go into hospital, maybe they've had a stroke, maybe they've had a fall, they can't return home, they have to be able to go somewhere. And so we're just very constrained on space because of underbuilding. And so that's another reason why we launched that campaign as well, to make sure that we have another 15,000 beds in the next 10 years.
Okay, let's shift focus. Lots of focus right now and momentum around the petition pushing for a referendum on separation. Its organizers claim members of your caucus have signed it, to which you've told CTV News they can sign whatever petition they want. Why have you given your MLAs that freedom?
Well, I didn't know if it was true. And so we just had a caucus meeting, and I can still tell you I have no idea if it's true. But my personal view is that this is a citizen process. We have citizen-initiated referenda for a reason. It's because they're putting forward policy that's perhaps not, that is not at odds with the government policy. Our government policy is that we support a strong and sovereign Alberta within a united Canada. But citizen-initiated referenda allows for people to express views that might be different than that. And we have to remember, we had 10 really hard years under Justin Trudeau, where a lot of people were really hurt. And it's sad to say, but there's a million or more Albertans, based on the polling I've seen, who've lost hope in Canada. So my view is that my job and the Prime Minister's job is to give people hope back. That's why we signed the MOU, and it's why we're working really hard to implement it, to address some of these frictions. And I hope that gives those Albertans some comfort that the last 10 years are not going to be repeated for the next 10 years. But we've got some work to do on implementation of that.
And you've said you won't demonize or marginalize those seeking independence. And to your point a moment ago, Albertans need to be given hope. On the flip side, what message do you have for all the Albertans who are opposed to separation?
Well, that is the majority of Albertans. I mean, I think for the polling I've seen, It spiked after the election up to over 40%. I think most recently it's down to 30%. And I think that's a demonstration that as we start making progress on addressing some of the issues, there's another one that just happened today, that they've abandoned the net zero vehicle regulations. That was one of the 9 bad laws that I identified as creating real problems for not only consumers, but certainly for our industry. And so I would say that slowly but surely, we're seeing that the new government has seen that the policies that they had were damaging to the economy, not just us, but generally, and they're repealing them. So I think that if we can keep on doing that, then it should give some comfort to those who've lost hope in Canada that can be fixed. That's what I'm working towards.
What's your comfort level with petition organizers representing Alberta in direct discussions about independence with the U.S. government?
Well, I believe that the U.S. government should respect Canadian sovereignty and Alberta sovereignty and deal with elected officials. I've made that point clear to my envoy